big part of hospice, particularly for us, is that we drive to meet patients in their homes or in care facilities. So, well, I put a lot of miles on the car, or over the course of a year, driving to wherever those patients are at. Um, and some days it gets really hard because I end up spending a lot of time sitting, and I'm not used to that. I'm more of a person who likes to get up and walk and stand, and then so going through during my residency for chaplain work, I'm must have walked at least a good couple of miles every day around the hospital because you're going from one patient room to another, or you're going from one end of the hospital to the other, or and so and you stand for a lot of visits because seating in rooms are limited. So, but when I went into hospice care, I quickly figured out that I would be sitting a lot more than I'd be standing, which is not a bad thing because, again, you want to be on the patient's level, meet them where they're at. That's a big part of my theology of ministry is to figuratively and literally meet them where they're at. So if they're in a bed, sit on a chair that you can look them in the eye and not look down on them. We have patients who are a fall risk, so they try to put the bed in the lowest position, which sometimes means on the floor, as close to the floor as you can get, so that if they do fall out of bed, they're just falling on a mat that's only maybe 4 or 5 inches is lower than they are. And so for me, I don't like to sit over patients, so sometimes that means I'm sitting on the floor next to them. And which is not a big deal. I actually like it because, again, it's part of my theology of meet the patient where they're at. And, I mean, that's what, at least in my interpretation of Scripture, that's what Jesus did. He went out into the places where the people were, met with them on their home turf, so to speak, or in the places where they were, or to minister to them and share the love of God. And so that's, like I said, that's a big part of my ministry perspective and theology, and it's also part of the reason why, while I love a lot of the liturgy of ministry, I've never completely felt called to serving a church. I'm very much wanting to get outside and serve and meet people where they are, and that's hard to do when we have members that are very connected to their buildings and want to bring people inside. Right? And sometimes you can't get people to come inside unless you go outside. Right? But so, not to get totally preachy,